Hey everyone, today we're going to look at the oldest chess game that's ever been recorded. So this isn't necessarily the first game of chess that's ever been played, but it was the first one that was discovered, and it was in the year 1475 that it was supposedly played in Spain, Valencia. And playing with the white pieces was Francesco di Castellvi, and black was Narciso Vinyoles. However, there's much debate about if this is a real game or not, because the game was actually discovered because it was from a poem all about love, and supposedly white represents love or Mars and black represents Venus and the glory. So this may actually not be a real game, but if it is, it's quite an interesting one. So white in the game plays e4, and even in the 15th century they're already playing d5, the Scandinavian defence. No doubt it probably wasn't called this at the time, but maybe it should be called the Spanish defence instead. So white captured on d5, e takes d5, queen takes d5 was played, white played knight to c3, which hits the queen, and the queen drops back to d8. All very standard stuff so far. White now played bishop to c4, developing another piece into a very aggressive square, targeting f7. Black played knight to f6, and white played knight to f3, already preparing moves like knight to e5, or knight to g5 and put pressure on this f7 square. And already black makes a fatal mistake. I guess the theory wasn't well known during this period. Black played bishop to g4, and can you see why this is a mistake already? Well, there's two moves you can play as white here. You could play bishop takes f7 with check. If the king takes, then there's knight to e5, a fork against the king and the bishop. The king will move, and then white will capture, black will capture, and the queen will capture, and white's won the f-pawn, a full pawn up in this position. Alternatively, you could just play knight to e5 straight away, threatening checkmate with bishop takes f7. So black will be forced to move their bishop somewhere, let's say bishop to e6, and then white will just capture, takes, and just castle. And in this position, okay, white's not a pawn up, but black has a terrible structure. This bishop is probably never getting out, and this should be an easy win for white, let's be honest. So bishop g4, white actually missed the sacrificing and tactics. He played h3 instead, which hits the bishop. The bishop took on f3, and now there was queen takes f3, with black now playing e6. Another awful move, because the queen hits the pawn on b7. Queen takes b7 was played by white, attacking the rook on a8, so knight b to d7 is played. The queen now protects the rook, of course, but white's going in for the kill already. Knight to b5 hits the c7 pawn twice. Black has to defend, so rook to c8 defends the pawn, but now black's losing another pawn. Knight takes a7. Two pieces now hit out at the rook on c8. This is looking very bad for black. The best move in this position is actually just to play rook to b8 to hit the queen. Once the queen drops back, now you can play knight to e5, queen to e2, and just trade. Knight takes c4, queen takes c4, rook to b6. Okay, black's still doing badly, but at least they've sort of stabilised the position. But in the game, after knight takes a7, black played knight to b6. A complex move. White just though takes the rook on c8, and black could go in for complications here with knight takes c4, taking the bishop off the square. But after knight takes c8, black went for the simple idea of just recapturing, so knight takes c8 was played, and suddenly black's a lot of material down, their exchange down, and two pawns. White now played d4, offering the pawn on d4 with the queen. We do not want to take this though, because if queen takes, there's queen takes knight, so terrible. Instead, black played knight d6, finally a good move, hits the queen and the bishop at the same time. But unluckily for black, white has an intermezzo move, play bishop to b5 with check. Black takes the bishop off, and the queen takes b5 check once again. The knight drops back to d7 to stop the check, and white continues to break open black structure with d5. Black captured on d5, but white just ignores this, plays bishop to e3, developing another piece. Black also develops. So I think in this position both sides would normally castle. However, I'm sceptical because I think maybe in the 15th century the castling rule didn't exist. So for this reason I'm assuming neither side can castle. So if you can't castle, I think white's doing much better. So in the game, white now played rook to d1, because normally it would make sense for white just to castle queenside, but maybe it doesn't exist, I'm not too sure. Black played queen to f6, and rook takes d5 was played. Not the best move for white. Black now could get back into the game slightly with the move c6. So you hit the queen, hit the rook. The point is, if queen takes c6, there's a discovered check with bishop to b4. And once the king moves, there's queen takes queen. We'll pick that up nicely. So after c6, white's pretty much forced to play this variation with rook takes d6. There would be pawn takes b5, rook takes queen, knight takes rook. And okay, black is still losing, still 2 pawns down, but it's better than what happened in the actual game. So c6 was a big miss for black. Instead, he played queen to g6, hits g2, and also hits c2, so at least black's doing something. White now played a very aggressive move, bishop to f4. The point is now white wants to dislodge his bishop from d6 because then there's an attack against the knights on d7. I think the best move for black here though is to play queen takes g2 because you're hitting the rook and you'll take it with check. So white will be forced to move the rook, and after queen e4 check, forcing white to make another move. So bishop e3 is considered the best move. I think if they play king to d1 in this situation, you can just play queen takes f4. So after queen e4, bishop e3 is pretty much forced, and then black can play a move like queen to e6, just about holding on in the position, and maybe black will play king to e7, at least get the rook out to b8. At least they've got some ideas here. However, in the game, after bishop to f4, black blundered. They played bishop takes f4, and it's 2-move checkmate. Let's see if you can see it. I'm pretty sure you can. It's queen takes d7 with check, king to f8, and queen to d8 is indeed checkmate. So this game was played again in the year 1475. I think it was pretty decent play for white especially. Okay, black was kind of a novice compared to today's standards, but still the chess was quite interesting. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the analysis of this game. If you did, please do drop a like, comment or subscribe. It really helps with the channel. And hopefully I'll see you in another video very soon. Take care.